When I tell you that something is truly worth the wait, this Bridgerton story of Queen Charlotte was truly and utterly worth the wait. Yes, it was. Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. Listen, as I said, this one was really worth the wait. This is going to be different. How I'm actually going to do this. I thought about doing this because I've watched Bridgerton 1 and Bridgerton 2. And I suggest if you have not, then I think that you actually should. I think you should and watch them in that order so that you can actually get. This is just one of those things that has to go in that order. Just like when we had the whole thing with Flowers in the Attic. This is the same type of thing where you got the Flowers in the Attic. I like the original movie, but then there's the prequel. And the prequel, you need to watch the original movie first, then watch the prequel because then it's really so much better. And that's with this. If you watch this first, it will work. You will be fine, but you won't get the impact that you get from already knowing the story, the Bridgerton story, and then going back and basically kind of delving it. Because that's the whole thing of Bridgerton. It's really all about a rag sheet. It's really about a rag sheet, and nobody really knows who's writing it. And that's the whole fun of Bridgerton. It's the whole secretive scandal of it all and that kind of thing. So this part coming later as a third installment where we're actually dipping back into the life of Queen Charlotte and finding out how Queen Charlotte got to be Queen Charlotte is like us peeking through the blinds. So that's part of the whole love of this whole writing and this whole experience from Shondaland and Netflix for Bridgerton. So that's what I'm going to say. Now this review, because I'm kind of reviewing, but I don't do, okay, this happened and then that happened. I really want you to watch it as well, but I like to just discuss it with you. The things that stuck out to me. That's my style. That's what I do. And this is going to be even a little more different than that because there's 6 episodes to Queen Charlotte, and I started to do it episode for episode and do 6 reviews. And I said, no, I don't want to do that because I wanted to experience it how I wanted to experience it. And I sat right here on this couch and I watched the whole thing, one episode after the next episode after the next episode, and I did not stop. I did not sit around and take notes. I didn't do any of that. I sat here and I just took it in and had the experience. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and have the experience. If you've not watched, click out now, and you can come back. You click out now, come back when you have watched it in its entirety. Come back to this video. Because naturally, there will be spoilers. There will be some spoilers. But I'm not really going to go too much into detail about much. I'm just going to kind of skim over why I love this so much. That's basically what I'm doing right now. I'm telling you now, I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I loved the whole experience of it. And it was just so shocked out of 6 episodes how Shonda Rhimes was able to wrap all the things that we touched on. Mental illness. I wasn't even expecting any of that. Mental illness, interracial love. We've touched on that before. Racism. We touched on that. And instead of calling it racism, they're going to call it the Great Experiment. It's called segregation, honey. That's what it was called. It was called segregation. They called it the Great Experience or Great Experiment. A quack doctor a quack doctor, but he was really like a mad scientist. Okay, and he did torture. Is basically what he did, and he was, I believe, he was a Nazi. He was, that's what he gave. Um, extreme medication, extreme medication, whack, mad scientist, if you will. Um, forbidden love. We touched on forbidden love, and then the regret of having that forbidden love. Um, do you feel guilty? Do you not feel guilty? Do you regret that you did it? What did you get out of it? They touched on that. Arranged marriages, touch on that in the first two. Secrets, that's what it's all about. Scandals, lies, and secrets. That's the Bridgerton story. Scandals, lies, and secrets. Widower's guilt. We actually talked, they touched in that. One thing that was like of today that I saw personal, I basically having personal assistants. Grimsley. Grimsley was a personal assistant to Queen Charlotte. He should get used to him. He always 5 steps behind her. He said, my lady, I'll always be 5 steps behind you. And he literally was always 5 steps behind her. And then the king actually had a personal follower as well. And he was always, child, and that was, again, the scandal of it all, honey, the scandal of it all. The two of them, they were both males, which was so funny that she had, well, I guess it made sense to have a male because if it was danger, then he had to protect her. So, yeah. So, but he was like a little short, little queen. And he was a different kind of man. And then the king had his little guy who wasn't nothing but a metrosexual butch queen, honey. He was, they thought he was metrosexual, honey. He was a butch queen, honey. But it was so funny because the scandal of it all was the queen's man and the king's man, child, was having each other. I said, y'all better come on here with this, honey. And it was all going up, but that's very Bridgerton. I said, never with the king's man and the queen's man be each other's man, honey. I fell out laughing at that. Of course, as all the other parts, the hair, child, the hair was fabulous. The clothing was exquisite. The music, dead on point. I love how they take completely current songs. We got Beyonce, Alicia Keys. There was a Katy Perry song in one of the episodes, but they and the one, and this is not here, but and I think part in the second installment, but it was a Katy Perry song. Might have been in one, but they change it to like a classical genre, and they do it, and it's so beautiful how it is done. The writing is just great. It's just great. This was just an experience. It really, really is good. And if you have not started in and you've not watched any of it, you are cheating yourself. You really, really are. If you like love stories, this is the place to go. If you like drama and scandal, honey, it's all there. It's Shonda Rhimes. I mean, what do you want? Listen, I love how we found out that the queen, it was arranged marriage, naturally. She didn't even like him. Like she had never seen him or anything like that. And then when they met before the wedding because she was trying to escape the palace. And she's trying to get off the grounds. And they ran into each other. She was kind of like a little tomboy, basically. Their parents, we found out that their parents, she had a brother. Her parents, mother and father, were dead. And she basically was her brother. Her brother was her keeper, and he signed her off. And it was really to join two spaces. It was a business deal. It's a business deal between two areas. So it was all business. It wasn't about no love, but they literally, when they ran into each other, it was love. When you say love at first sight, and how quickly that turned, and they found their love language. Their love language was to fight. It took them a minute though, because for a while I was like, "What the heck is the problem?" Like, I said, is the king gay? Is the king have? Because I went through all them. I said, was the king having his man? His assistant. And that's again with the whole thing where I say assistant. The assistant, it's no different than the jobs that you see right now when people have a personal assistant. See, I could never do that job because you've set yourself completely to the side, and then you're always trying to make sure this person has what they need. And that's what the job of a personal assistant is. It is a constant ass kisser. I'm not equipped with that gene. I never was. And that just would not work for me. I would never be able to be someone's personal assistant like that. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I can't be in a position where I have to do everything you don't want to do, or that it's really the things that you don't want to do. Bathing you and washing you and huh? No grown ass. I don't think so. But very interesting. I went through all that. I was like, is this king sleeping with him or what's going on? No, the king actually had mental illness. He had mental illness. And back then, they didn't want to say it, exactly what it was. And I think it was more of like a schizophrenic. And they had this quack doctor that came in, and I believe he worked on people back in the concentration camps, and he had these unorthodox ways, and they were just willing to try anything because they wanted to keep it a secret. That the King of England has mental illness, and he would just go off, and he was extreme. See that space. There's just a real thin line between being crazy and being extremely intelligent. That was him. He loved. He wanted to be a farmer. He was a farmer, and that's when he met the queen. He told her, "I'm just George to you. I'm just George," and that's how she fell in love with him. That she fell in love at that moment. But then she didn't understand why and neither did I, why he wanted to stay away from her. She had a whole completely different castle that she lived in, and he lived in a different castle, and she didn't understand that. And she went through so much time thinking it was her, and it messed with her self-esteem and all that kind of thing. And that wasn't it at all. That wasn't it at all. He was afraid of being around her because he didn't want her to see the real him, because he knew he'd go off and he'd be off. And like I said, he was extremely intelligent, and he was into astrology and all of this kind of thing. And then she started to understand things because she was smart as well. And she was reading, and she had all this time by herself because he wasn't there. They didn't even consummate the marriage right away. And it was like people were going to start talking. It was so deep. It was so deep. And I'm not going to go too much further into all that right there, but you'll have to see that. That's the love story. That's how the love story is playing out. And the dynamic. See, everybody's love is different. Everybody's love language is different. Just like I said, it was love at first sight. When they got together and they were on one accord, you could feel the love between the two of them. She was completely attracted to him because he was fine. Oh, honey. King George was fine. You understand? And she's short. King George was fine, baby. And it was like, yeah, baby, now I want to be some of this, honey. And that kind of thing. But then ain't nothing happening. And then you don't understand. And then he would be mean because that's where he was, that leadership. You be mean. That's how you get people's respect. Well, that didn't work on her. That didn't work on her. And the thing is, he kept trying to hide his mental illness from her. The funny thing was he was at this thing where he felt like with the doctor was abusing him because everybody else looks up to him for leadership. The doctor had him right where he wanted him. So he was getting off on the whole, I control the whole King of England, smacking him and carrying on. Because this one point when they were going to do the wedding, because anytime he got all worked up, it would send him off. At the wedding, she went missing. He got all worked up. This before he even met her. And Child, the damn doctor slapped the shit out of him. And baby, when I say the guardsman was getting ready to cut his head off, like, did you just smack the king? Smack the shit out of him. But he's like, no, 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 he's fine, he's fine. It's that control over him. The only other person that actually had it was her. She could talk to him and bring him back from out of a place. And then we went through a long spell, because when they figured it out. They figured out their love language. They had their sex, and baby, they threw down. And it was like everything fit together like puzzle pieces. Then they started to get close, and he went on. He stayed at the other house, but then he had an episode. He got naked, went out into the farm portion where he wanted to be out in the garden, and he's butt naked talking to the stars, child, talking about Venus. She came out there, baby, and she told him, I'm Venus, look at me. And then she talked him all the way back. She could do it. She could do it. She was able to do it. The mother, his mother, Princess Augusta, she was able to kind of deal, but not as well as the wife. She was not for the wife, and then the wife was black as well. So there was some tension right there already. Then we actually had the whole racism piece, where being as though she was black, they go into the town, and that's when they create this interracial situation where it's this segregation. Now they're inviting the black folks, to different functions, naming folks Lord and different things like that. And that's how we met Lady Danbury, because her husband was named Lord Danbury, but he was horrible. He was a joke. He was old, and he's horrible. Listen, look at this man. This is the worst looking man in the whole look at him. Look at him. He was a mess. Do you hear me? A whole goddamn mess. I said, child, they got him looking a fool. And he treated him just like he looked a fool, honey. But his wife was young and beautiful. Lady Danbury is beautiful. Even when she's older, Lady Danbury is beautiful. Okay? She's sharp as a tack. And he had this young wife. All he ever do was screw her and talk to her bad. She's the one that was making things happen. When I tell you that Lady Danbury was swift, baby, and she knew how to make things move. She knew how to shake the table, and she was doing things here. She ended up being because she's black too. So she ended up being one of the ladies and waiting for the queen, and they became best friends. And she basically was doing, she grew to love the queen. She loved her at first, but then she was like, girl, she's not really smart. She's very immature. Right. She's young. And where she came from, she was like, they were upper echelon where they came from, but not over there, And so she just kind of like looked at her, and then she was basically playing a role. She played her role. She was one of the ladies in waiting. She got her to trust her, and she basically was playing her. She's playing in her face the whole time. But then as time went on, then her husband died. Oh, this old bastard died, honey. Died banging her. Funny as hell. She gonna say, oh, are you done? He done fell back on the floor. Child, he was done all right. Dead as hell. Okay. And then her son was not going to be named Lord. It was like, oh no, we just did that. And total racism and foolishness. And she went right back into her manipulating ways and told the queen, you're the queen. You need to start acting like a queen. You can do this. You can make things happen. She started making things happen. There was like that whole camaraderie. Basically, Lady Danbury at most parts really did run the queen. She's her best girlfriend, but she just put things in her head, made her think it was her idea. Okay? And the thing is, the king loved her. So the king was going to stand behind whatever the queen said because he loved her. Even with all his mess, he loved her. And his main guy, his main handler, loved him. loved him. But I mean, he's the king, so he's king of England. But he was with him so long, he genuinely loves him. They left us off. We didn't really see whatever happened to him, but Grimsley was the Queen's man, and we seen him go through different things with like always having to hide that whole gay experience of having to hide your love and your relationship and this, that, thing, and the other. And then his man is dealing with the king and holding all the king's secrets, and he can't share it with him. So that was causing turmoil. It was just, I mean, it was all the type of, it was all real life stuff that it happens. And who knew that the queen actually had 15 children? That tells you that when I tell you her and the king were fit together like pieces of a puzzle, when it comes to the sex part, 15 children they made. They weren't worth a shit. None of them, the girls or the boys. Just wasn't worth a shit. They got to a point where she had no grandchildren. So that was her thing in real time, because we kept going from real time back to the past. And she had no grandchildren. And they're like, child, there's no heir to this throne. If he passes away, what are we going to do? You know, so that's what they were doing. But Princess Augusta was King George's mother. She was a hot mess. She was a hot mess. And she could not stand Lady Danbury. But Lady Danbury knew how to get her and damn near blackmail her into getting what she wanted. And she knew it. She knew Lady Danbury was handling her. But at the same time, Lady Danbury was so cunning and so clever that of course, there's a whole thing of gentlemen running Princess Augusta, and Lady Danbury would put ideas in her head. Honey, Lady Danbury was running the country. Okay? She really was, from over yonder. It was so interesting. It was so good. But oh God, the scene where Princess Augusta and the Queen get together, and because they hid it from her. It was always supposed to be hidden from her. She knew about it. She got mad and all that. Honey, when they had their little thing, and Princess Augusta told her, this is no place for weakness. So he can't do whatever that is. This is it. It's, you know, it's no place for weakness. It's no place for power, no place for hiding. It's just power. So whatever his issues are, who cares? So I'm going to sign for whatever type of extreme medication and stuff that we need to keep him on the straight and narrow, because he has to meet with Parliament, this, that, and the other. Then told her, he is yours now. It's on you. Because they just didn't even want her to know. She didn't want to work with her. She wanted to run him like she had been running him. Whole mess. Whole mess. Then when I said women's guilt, widower's guilt, when Lord Danbury died after a certain time, Lady Danbury, honey, she was hot. She was hot in her puss. She was hot. And there was a man, and he was married to a white woman. He's a white man. He was married to a white woman. It was one of them arrangements. He didn't love her. He just stomached her. And he, right away, he liked Lady Danbury, even when Lord Danbury was still alive. When Lord Danbury died, honey, he tried to stay to his vows and all that, because he had beautiful children and stuff. The one little daughter, I think her name was Penelope. But listen, there was one time, you know, he was clearly in love with Lady Danbury. He had to pop that thing one good time, honey, and they had it. You understand? And that's when she actually had her first real out sexual experience, where she actually really came into, you know, she came into, honey. It was what it was. But it was that thing like, okay, but he's a married man. You did this with this married man, but baby, he got you where you needed to go. So there was the whole shame of it all and the whole guilt. And at the end of the day, the guilt didn't bother her too much. The shame, nobody ever knew. So it just kind of was what it was. So again, there was the whole forbidden love thing. Listen, I said, I'm going to leave now. It just is what it is. You have to watch. You have to watch. Just go and watch. Go watch all 6 episodes. You come back to this video, leave me some comments. Tell me what you thought. Was there anything that stuck out to you that you want to talk about? Maybe I'll come back later after this has been out in a while and for a while, and I'll go live and we can actually talk live about it. But I just wanted to give you all like a full on of what, because I know everybody wanted to know what I thought. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And I think I've said enough. I don't want to completely ruin it for you. I think I'm going to give it some time, and I think I'll come back and I'll do a live where we can actually talk live in real time and go back and forth about it. Because it's only been out, a week at this point. So I'll give you some time. And y'all leave me some comments, y'all who have actually watched it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Come back, leave some comments. You already know when we go live, baby, you know how we do it over here. So it's going to be a whole experience. So listen, until then, let's talk in the comments, and then we'll do our live later. But absolutely treat yourself. Get on out there and see what I'm talking about. And look at this. Look at the actresses. Look at that. They're right there. And the green is Queen Charlotte, but they're up with the afro. That's her as a young woman. The actresses and the way they picked them, perfect. There's Lady Danbury. Lady Danbury is so damn sharp. And even the actress that played her as a younger woman, she really does look like that was what she would look like when she got older. And that husband of hers is just so goddamn horrible. Listen, Lord Danbury is just terrible. And he wasn't even nice. He wasn't even nice. He was stupid as hell. And he wasn't even nice. Just wanted to be somebody and wasn't, child. Listen, y'all go on and go take a look at this. And like I said, let's chit chat in the comments, and then we will come back together in real time and do some real talking. All right, you all. I will see you all later. Bye.